This session will be focusing on adding in shadows to make this pop even more. To do so, we're going to go ahead and click on the top layer and just make a new layer. So on the bottom right hand corner, click on the little plus sign, and let's go ahead and rename this as shadow so we know what layer we're working on. Okay, now that we have created a new layer called shadow, we're going to click on the layer shadow to activate it. And we're going to use the polygonal lasso tool once again and to dictate where the shadows will be coming from. So if the sun is coming from here, shining down this way, we want to replicate whatever shape we are having on top right here to reflect down to the bottom. So for example, if I were to create this angle, I want to go ahead and kind of replicate that same exact shape down to the bottom, just like this. So now we have the shape that is representation on top is reflective to the bottom, kind of like what you see here. So this is reflecting down this way. I'm gonna go ahead and go in. Now, once you have selected the area where the shadow will be reflecting, I'm gonna go ahead and paint this entire thing black. Black is any color that you see in the spectrum on the bottom left-hand corner. That's the solid black. I'm gonna press OK. I'm gonna use the paint bucket and I'm gonna go ahead and paint this in black. What is happening now is I want to show you a new tool called the opacity tool. In your layer, there's something called opacity. Opacity is transparency, being able to kind of dilute the color to make it more see-through. So I'm gonna go ahead and change this down to about, say, as much as you want it to be. So if you want the shadow to be a little darker, just bring it up to a higher percentage. If you want the shadow to be a little bit just kind of subtle, bring it down. So I'm gonna bring down about maybe 25% or so, something along this line. So I'm gonna continue through that process. I'm gonna take the polygonal lasso tool and kind of trace over the exact same shape to create my shadow that represent where it's dropping down to the ground. Here's a paint bucket again, paint that in. Now you can see things that are beginning to start popping up. Similarly, on the bottom here, I want this whole thing to kind of cast a shadow onto this wall. So I'm gonna go ahead and use the same concept. This particular shape would get dropped over to the bottom here. So I'm going to go ahead and go like this. I'm going to take the exact same shape, bring it down this way, just like that, and say this is where the shadow will be casting. So it's going to go up just a little bit, back over, and it's going to go over this way, back up, and hidden underneath this area. So this whole area is going to be under a shadow shade. And I'm going to go ahead and paint this in black as well to create my shadow. But you can see things are beginning to start casting a shadow down that direction. In fact, if you don't like the way something looked, you can simply go in and retrace the area where you think you can be modified. So for example, something along this line. So if I don't want this whole area to be in the shade, I can just press delete on the keyboard. And you can see the shadow now look a little more realistic because this object is actually casting down to that area. You can continue through the whole process to continue figuring out where the shadow is going to be. For example, if you want just a little hint of shadow on the bottom here, I'm just going to replicate that shape. So this angle will be kind of starting at this angle and just drag it over to this corner. And just something along the little detail that will allow you to add shadow as a representation to drop down to the ground, just like that.